This episode is brought to you by Santos Threads. Make sure to visit Santos-Threads for the latest and greatest in men's and women's Latino urban-inspired streetwear. Visit SANTOS-THREADS.com. Hey, you are now listening to the Santos Says podcast, episode number 33. I'm your host, Santos, proud owner of Santos Threads. Make sure you guys follow me on social media. Before we get into it, follow me on social media at Santos Threads Shop, Instagram, as well as on the TikTok, Santos Threads Shop. And of course, as always, wait. Let's do this right. We got to do this right. Hold on. All right. So, here we go. And of course, thank you guys. Happy to be with you guys once more. This is episode number 33, the Santos Says podcast. Back at you. Episode number 33. Come and take a ride with me. And of course, everybody listening on iHeart, on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Stitcher, and away we go. And of course, the video format on the YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, please, guys, hit the like, subscribe, comment, share with your friends, your grandma, your sister, your brother, your cuñado, whoever. Share with everybody. On this episode, I will have a special guest. This person who will be joining me. The person who will be joining me on this episode is an entrepreneur, fellow entrepreneur. As a matter of fact, and so this person, I've seen her really doing her thing on social media. I've seen her, and I've also, I've had the pleasure of getting to see a lot of her merchandise, what she's done, her website. Her name is Valery. She goes by the name of Valery, and of course, she is the part owner of the Milked Brand. Now, the Milked Brand is a streetwear inspired brand dedicated to motherhood, dedicated to the mothers out there who come from the inner city, in particular, especially Latina and minority mothers, and some of those hardships that come from coming from some of the environments that we all come from. And so I felt like it was right to really, to be honest, to have somebody like this, an entrepreneur, a Latina. She is a Latina entrepreneur who has a partner, and I want her to come on, and she's going to tell her story. So I'm very much looking forward to conversing with her. And it's funny. So I've always, as a person who's an entrepreneur himself, I've always gravitated towards really other entrepreneurs and getting to know them and finding out their stories. And so it's always great to be able to connect with other fellow entrepreneurs who may have a similar story to mine, or just knowing their story and understanding where they come from. And so it's always great to be able to share these stories, take notes, share notes, and kind of do all those things. And for the purposes of this episode, I really was intrigued by seeing her mission, because she's got a brand that's dedicated to Latina mothers and motherhood. And so we're going to talk about a lot of her ideas, where she came up with this idea for the brand called the Milked Brand. Her social media posts are very interesting as well, as she shows a lot of images associated with motherhood, such as breastfeeding, breastfeeding is something that for some people is a controversial thing. There's people who don't like to see breastfeeding in public, or who would prefer not to see it in public, or they have certain kind of preconceived notions with breastfeeding. And so it'll be fascinating to get her take on some of those things and how she was able to draw inspiration. She is a mother herself. And so with those things, it's always interesting to see where the inspiration comes from. And so she will be joining me momentarily. But before I do that, I think it's important. I actually want to plug something, because before I do that, I want to announce that we have merch for the podcast. We have merch at Santos-Threads.com. So make sure you check out the official, not just any merch, the official Santos Says podcast merch. We've got a hoodie there. We have a long sleeve tee there. Um, and we also have a dad hat with the Santos Says podcast logo. Make sure you guys go out there and support. You get 15% off your first purchase if you subscribe, and support the merch. We got that merch, as well as I got some spring stuff that I'm working on from the Santos Threads line. So I just want to put that out there. Make sure you check out santos-threads.com. As we know, mothers, it's not easy being a mother, right? Being a parent's not easy, but being a mother especially is not easy. And so seeing these things, um, hearing these stories, and getting to know the struggles of different people is really, it fascinates me, and it's really great to hear the perspective. And without further delay, I have on here joining me one half owner of the Milked brand. She goes by the name of Valery, Val, V, whatever nickname she wants to use, whatever name she wants to refer to herself as in that moment, she's good with those names. So we're gonna bring her to the show. I'd like to welcome her to the show. Valery from the Milked brand, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hi, how you doing? How you doing? I didn't know which one to go with. I'm like, she called Val, V.
At the moment.
How you doing? Welcome,
Good,
welcome.
good.
Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much.
Yes. So I was talking about, kind of like in my intro, I was talking about how we, we're in a way, we're kind of similar, but it's different. And I love that you have this vision, that this idea that you came up with. So we'll talk about that. But I just want to talk about how, I guess, without further delay, introduce yourself. Tell us where you come from, and we'll go in, and then we'll talk about the other stuff. So just go right in.
I'm Valery. I am part co-founder of the Milked brand, which was formerly known as Vandal Mamas, which is funny. But I was born in Brooklyn. I was raised for a few years in Rhode Island, which is a fact that a lot of people don't know about me. And then when we moved back here to New York, I finished getting raised in East New York. So most of my life has been in Brooklyn, but I always dedicate a little space in my heart for Rhode Island. So I'm half Dominican, half Puerto Rican. I have one son who will be 4 years old in April. And my partner, unfortunately, who's not here, I'll speak on her behalf, but she's Kat. She was also born in Brooklyn. We were raised in the same area in East New York. And she's also Puerto Rican Dominican. She has a 3-year-old who will be 4 in August. And we started this company more because we knew each other, and we ended up being pregnant at the same time. And we kind of just found, a bond within each other. We always, we grew up together. We went to the same schools and stuff like that. And, it was kind of like a hi-bye associate, relationship. Every now and then we will chill together. We'll, do things together. Like we would just come in each other's lives at the right time, through a breakup or, estaban de parranda. So it was like, we saw each other in the mix and then we started chilling, but then we didn't chill. When I got pregnant, I started posting about how I was planning to birth, which was at a birthing center. And so she hit me up and she was just like, "You're birthing at the Brooklyn Birthing Center?" And I'm like, "Yes, that's my plan." And she's like, "Oh, well, I wanted to do the same thing. I'm actually doing like the registration and everything." So that's kind of like how our bond started with our brand. Like it started more because of our personal brand. But yeah, so we've made it this far. We've been doing this for now almost 4 years now. We started this in, I want to say it was like 2018, November 2018. That's when the idea started. And the idea still is present in what we do today. It started as just a platform to support moms like us because we knew there was other moms like us, but we never saw them. So, Instagram is a really, really big place, a really, really big social place. And what we did see was a lot of women that didn't look like us, that sometimes didn't explain the struggle that we went through. A lot of the struggle that moms go through is similar in many, many ways because, parenthood is parenthood no matter where you put it. But there's specific issues that happen where we come from that don't get a voice and don't have a space to be talked about. So that's how the idea of Vandal Mamas came on. My screen name for a very, very long time was Be the Vandal, which I changed recently. I had that name since like I started my Instagram, which was many
Really?
years ago. Yeah,
So that's where that came, because I think I recall that briefly.
that is, yes,
I
that is
recall that name briefly.
my original name. It was Be the Vandal, and that name came from a lot of the stuff that I did as a young person.
Wow.
I was really heavily into graffiti.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I personally didn't do graffiti myself. I don't know how to draw that well, but the people that I hung around with did. And so it was a lifestyle that I lived out, even though I didn't, really, I wasn't really involved in any of the art making. But it was something I was always fascinated with. And so there would be times where I did go like bombing with my friends and bombing with, boyfriends or whatever. Like I was just in the group and was just there, and I just really liked the lifestyle. And so that name kind of like stuck with me throughout, because it was kind of like the lifestyle that I mostly associated myself with. So I had that screen name, and the idea of Vandal Mamas came onto the scene because I was associating that lifestyle that I had with now being a mom, which a lot of people can't put those two things together. They can't put, that past of, I was this or I was that into what they do as moms now. It almost feels like you have to change who you are. And to me, it's like, that's not fair, because I've always been this person, not necessarily a vandal, of course, but, I've always been the person that I am, which is like, I appreciate a certain culture and I live my life through a certain culture. And I didn't feel like it was fair to me as a mom now to have to give that up. So Vandal Mamas really was that. And then we decided to kind of stem away from that because we wanted to make it a bigger, kind of like a bigger picture and a bigger platform, and more than just support. That's when Milked came on the scene. It was, a play on words, because we were, which is very heavy throughout Milked. Play on words is very heavy because I'm very influenced by like rap music, and like James does a lot of like play of words. So that's something I'm really big on. But Milked was more an expression of like how we felt as moms, and it was like we felt milked. Like, when you milk a cow or when you milk somebody for money, that's the feeling that we felt. And it was just, it kind of like matched the motherhood situation where, we're breastfeeding and stuff like that. So yeah, that's how the Milked brand was born. And it's we like to call it like the hood, because it's motherhood, but we're also from the hood. And so that's our idea, that we are the hood all together, whatever that may mean.
Right.
Comes along,
And so it's interesting. So you found a way to combine, like you mentioned, it's all under the hood, right? So you're talking about motherhood from the hood.
Right. And like neighborhood,
like the perfect marriage of the two.
Yes. Like when you take the meaning of hood, we have that on our website too. Like the meaning of hood is a combination of, people that come together that have a similar idea and have a similar, upbringing or something similar, So that's where the hood idea came from. And it's funny because, again, it's a play on words, because people say, oh, like hood, like ghetto. And I'm like,
that has a negative connotation to it, but you explain.
Right, exactly. And that's a lot of what we do is that there's negative connotations to a lot of the things that we say and do. And we try to kind of bring it into more of a humorous light, or more of the present or positive light. So that's what we try to do. So yeah, the hood is like, that's what we call like our community, the hood.
No, for real. No, for sure. And that's the thing that I really, that resonated with me when it came to, when I saw a lot of the things you did with your brand, is seeing how there was a niche there. And we're not just talking as business people, right? But we're talking about like in a cultural sense, what you are able to do to bring, like we mentioned, the hood being a negative connotation. There's negative stereotypes associated with that, right? So I guess what I want to know is, what were some of your feelings and what were some of your thoughts when you were, as you mentioned before, going through social media and you kind of noticed, okay, I don't feel like I'm being represented. Like, talk to me about that and how that factored into your decision with your partner to put together start working on this brand.
So, it's funny because looking back, Instagram has this feature that if you look through, like if you're gonna make a highlight, you can kind of like look back at your stories. And I went really, really far back, like when I first had my son, and I was posting stuff, because I always post stuff on social media, but I was posting stuff about like now being a mom. And I don't think that at the time, I didn't think that anybody was listening to those stories or listening to those comments or listening to those posts that I was putting up, because a lot of my friends weren't necessarily sharing that they were moms or sharing, those heavier parts of motherhood. So in my mind, I felt a little lonely, because I'm like, all right, I'm like here, this girl that comes from, this certain culture and this certain atmosphere that's now being like so open about being a mom, and not just being like, oh, I'm just a mom, but it's like the real shit that comes with being. I'm sorry, can I curse on?
No, yeah. I get that question so much on here, you won't even believe it. Go ahead.
But yeah, so a lot of the stuff that I was posting, I didn't feel like I was getting, any feedback off of it, because I thought that the people on my platform, my own friends and my own family, my own, circle of people that were watching me, I thought they just didn't associate with what I was saying. Cut to and come to find out, there's a lot of moms that feel like I feel, and they don't share and they don't talk because they feel the same way that I feel or felt at that time, that I felt like lonely. Like, I'm not going to sit here and talk about this. I'm going to pretend that it's not happening. I'm going to pretend that I'm a mom, and that's kind of like separate from, my social media presence or, my presence just as a person. I don't talk about it. I just kind of, it's there, and I just don't say anything. But as I started to talk more about it and just be more open about what I was going through, and, just even if it was funny stuff, there's a lot of humor in parenthood too. I started to get comments back, and I started to get feedback from other, peers that were parents that were saying, yo, yes, this is exactly what I feel like. This is exactly what I go through. This is exactly what happens. Like, and not even just moms, it was also dads. I mean, kids, guys that I went to high school with that were now fathers, and excellent fathers, by the way, because in my mind that in high school, I'm like, he's never going to be a good dad. But I see them now and I'm like, yo, like, you're a really good father. And thinking of you in high school, I never would have thought that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, when I was posting these things and I started seeing that feedback, that's when I realized, like, I think there's something here that I can kind of try to, bring out. Aside from the fact that I've always just had this innate feeling of helping my community. My high school was in Bushwick, and it was a high school that was geared to community service. So I forever have been a person that somehow just always wants to give back. And it's like the job that I hold now that pays my bills, like, they don't give back. It's a
wait, I got to give a shout out to Bushwick.
Yeah, I was kind of like raised in Bushwick too, because I went to school there. But yeah, so it was just all about this feeling, like this innate feeling of me having to give back. But also this feeling of like this culture that I loved, right? Because I like clothes, I like, I like the culture. Like, I just was always about it, and not just like the superficial parts of it, but the more deeper parts of it, like expression, really knowing what a rapper was talking about, or really feeling what a rapper was talking about, or an artist even, or, an article, a book. I was always just always trying to be part of this culture. And so now that I was a mom, it was hard. It was hard to get back to this, and it was hard to kind of get back to like my root self, because I did have this feeling of I need to be a different person. I can't be this person around my son. I can't be this person in public, because people are going to look at me like, you're a mom. You shouldn't be, ghetto. You have to, like, get your act together and, be nice and clean. And, and it was like, yeah, but that's not really who I am. Like, I do curse and I do listen to rap music. And that's just really like, those parts are me, are what made me the mom that I am, and a lot of people don't like to say it openly, but I'm a fucking good mom. Like, I'm a good mom. I know that I'm a good mom.
You should say it.
I do. Yeah. A lot of people don't say it because they feel, people are going to be like, you're like, tú estás hablando out of your ass, because you don't need, but it's like, yes, I'm a good mom, and I can be a good mom and also be who I am. You know what I'm saying? And that's really the core of what this is for me. Like, it's more that I want other people that feel like this to know that there is a home for them, and that there is this feeling of community for them. So yeah, for me, it was just getting those comments back and getting that feedback from other moms and other parents that I was just like, yo, there's something here. I know there is.
Yeah. No, yeah, and it's all part. It's almost like you did market research, without.
Kinda,
You
yeah.
did market research. That's what you did. Like I'm hearing this play
Kinda.
over in my mind. I'm like, she
Yep.
did market research.
Yep. And not even on purpose. It was just kind of like, I was just expressing myself at the time. And then it just so happened that other people were like, yo, I feel like that too.
Yeah.
And then,
No
Kat,
doubt.
my partner, we were doing this simultaneously, like together. So while I was doing this and posting all this and saying all this, she's hitting me on the side, like, bro, yes. Like, she's like, don't you feel like you don't belong? And I'm like, yeah. So this is where like the partnership came from, because we were both going through this at the same time.
Right. And that's also part of the bond, right? Like when you mentioned that connectivity, right? Is like you were able to bond over something so sacred. Like motherhood is something that's so sacred, right? That's a time of your life you're never gonna forget. Like there is no, and I always also say this too, like no two pregnancies are alike, right? I'm a dad, it's different, right? I have a different vantage point of it. But even when, both times, when my child was going to be born, both children, it's the same thing. Like I mean, it's not the same experience. So I can imagine for you,
Yeah.
you remember it and it has feelings that,
Yeah.
that you won't forget. So.
Yep. Yep. And it's like it does change you too, like it's like I don't want to say you become a different person, but you do evolve as a person. Like you become a better you after being a mom.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way as a dad. I
Yeah,
feel the
yes,
same
yes,
thing.
and yes. We always forget about the dads, but yes, I completely agree with that. Watching my husband grow, from what we met into what he is now is something that's like sometimes I just stare at him like a creep, because I'm like, yo, like I can't believe that we started out as like these two innocent, we didn't know what the hell we were doing, and now like look at us. Like I'm like, you're a really, really good father, and it's amazing to see that. Even his family, sometimes is in awe of him, because they're like, we never thought he was gonna have kids. Like we didn't think he was gonna do all that. And now they see him as a dad, and it's just like, wow, like you are a dad, like a for real dad. Like you're there and you're present, and it changes you. You evolve. You become this like whole better you.
I always say that, and I think especially for, not that it shouldn't change women, or when they become moms. Like it's almost like the expectation is that it is going to change
Yeah.
women more so than change men. Like I think men in general, like we take a while to grow up. So it's
Right.
like, being honest,
Right.
right? So like, oh, is he ever gonna grow up, right? So like, I feel like that was my, even me, like I felt like that was when it got real. Like it was like,
Right.
all right, like
Right. Like
he's grown now.
yeah, like once that
Gotta
baby,
grow up.
like, okay, I gotta be a whole man.
I gotta grown up. Yeah, and I got scared too. Like it scared me. It made me wanna reevaluate my whole situation. Like I'm like,
A
I
lot,
need more money. I gotta go, right.
a lot of fathers don't talk about that, and it's crazy to me. Like my man always makes fun of me because he's like, "Tu habla tanto." Like you talk so much, and I'm like, that's what girls do. Like we always talking. We're always having conversation. We're always sharing emotions, sharing feelings. But men don't do that, and sometimes they're going through things, and we're judging them without really knowing that they're going through a whole set of emotions. Like they see this baby, and yeah, they didn't grow it in their body, and they didn't do any of that, but they see this baby and they know it's their baby, and it's like their whole life changes.
Yeah, everything changes.
Everything changes. You kind of like, and that fear of like, yo, I gotta make money, I gotta make it big, I gotta take care of this kid, like,
Yeah,
and
it's real. It's real.
Yeah.
It's real. I remember when it happened to me, not to go too crazy on my situation because I want to hear about you.
This is good because this again, market research.
Right, market research, right? Not for nothing, but for me, I know personally when it happened to me, when I had my first, when I became a father for the first time, you're excited but scared as hell.
Right.
And then when it happened, I broke down.
Yeah.
I remember when he was born, my son was born.
Yep.
My son is oldest. Yep. I have a son and a daughter. He was born, and I just like I broke down with tears.
Yeah, yep. He's gonna kill me, but I'm like, yes, it was the first.
Inconsolable. Like
yeah,
I was like I was emotional.
Yeah, I can count on one hand how many times I've seen this man cry in the last 7 years, and that was one of those times. And it was like, it was a beautiful thing to watch. It was a beautiful thing to watch because the emotion, like he could, something that he didn't grow, he didn't give birth to this, it wasn't him, but he saw it come out. He's just like in such awe, you know? Yeah, that happens. It's a real thing.
Yeah, it is. Being a father, right? So I broke down, and I remember my mom came over from out of town. My mother doesn't live in New York. She came from out of town, and she came, you know, for that occasion. And so she saw me, and I remember I saw her, and I ran to her, and I just cried in her arms because I remember how it felt.
Yeah,
it was just the emotions came to me.
yeah.
So for fathers, it's not the same exact thing, but it's, you know,
yeah,
it can be emotional.
Yep. I agree 1,000%. And see, there it goes. I told you. And action.
Action. Yep, that's it. Look, that's crazy.
Yep.
So here's the thing, right? So you mentioned those, so because obviously your brand has a hip hop element to it as well.
Yes.
On my podcast, I talk a lot about hip hop stuff too.
Yes, I saw. Mm-hmm.
Right. So who are some of the? So we got to get into this. Right. We have to talk about this. Who are some of your Who are some of your favorite artists growing up? Your favorite
artists? As far as because I'm into music just generally. I'm just inspired by music generally. I was around hip hop a lot because of my brother. My brother he just always played rap music. I mean, I'm not talking about like gangster rap, like not even just hip hop. Like he played a lot like gangster rap and stuff like that. So I grew up listening to whatever he was listening to, and then kind of like developed my own taste for stuff. He listened to a lot of like the Locks, and there was a lot of DMX played in my house. So when DMX passed away, like I never get emotional about like celebrities passing away, but when I found out that DMX passed away, that it like really like I really like started tearing like emotionally because his music did get us, me and my brother, through a lot of like dark times. So that was a heavy one. Like DMX for me is very, very heavy. A lot of you know, B.I.G. We love B.I.G. We just actually got a puppy. We got a puppy, a pocket pit bull, and we named him Wallace because
nice.
Pocket pit bulls are like big but little. So to us, it was like, you know, like Biggie Smalls, and you know, and my husband was like Wallace, and I'm like, oh, perfect. So that's how deep like we are invested into like music.
Wow, you named him Wallace.
We named him Wallace, like Christopher Wallace, like B.I.G. Yes, and yeah. So a lot of that. I think my top, which I could have an argument with this about my man, my top is probably Jay-Z.
Jay-Z.
It's probably Jay-Z, and I think it's Jay-Z because of his
like top all time. You think Jay-Z is the greatest of all time?
I mean, for me, I could never say of all time. Like that's something that, you know, I'm gonna go head to head with a lot of people that know real music. You know, like I listen to what I listen to, but like I'm not invested in music like that. But for me, I think top notch would be at least top 3 would be Jay-Z. He'll definitely be up there because I know a lot of his music without knowing that I know a lot of his music. Like his music gets played, and then I realize like, damn, I know a lot of this cat's music.
Yeah.
But I think for me, it's the wordplay. His wordplay is incredible.
Sure.
Another person that does that recently, this is a recent rapper, is Nicki Minaj, and a lot of people underestimate her in that.
I agree with you. Nicki Minaj is so underrated as a lyricist.
Like lyrically, she just be on freaking point. I'm like, yo, this lady is a fucking beast. Like, you guys don't give her enough credit. She may be crazy or whatever, but you know, and if she's honestly writing her own music too, on top of
better than Cardi. I'm sorry.
Oh, for sure. Don't get me wrong. I love my Cardi because
of course she represents, but it's not. She don't write her own
lyrically and musically and you know, like actually creatively. Nicki Minaj, hands down. She's one of the best female rappers, I feel.
See, here's the thing with Nicki Minaj.
I can even dare that and say, which I might get.
Go ahead.
I mean, yeah, but I can even dare and say that she's better than Lil Kim. It's very different. It's very different because it's two different eras, so it's hard to judge two rappers in two different eras.
Wow, that's a hot take.
That's big.
That's a hot take. I'll tell you what.
And say, bitch, and it's. Don't get me wrong. I love Lil Kim. I love what Lil Kim represents. I respect her as an artist because growing up on her music was She was fucking Lil Kim. I mean, like, come on. She was like, to me, I feel like she was like the first female rapper to me that I knew that I was
to
like,
all of us.
She looks like me and she's rapping. Like, that's wild, bro. Like, that's not wild. But hearing Nicki Minaj's stuff and hearing like her wordplay and hearing all that creativity that she puts into her work, yeah, I mean, that's second to none to me. You know.
Here's what I'm gonna tell you. Okay, a couple things. You saying, and I listen, I'm gonna validate what you said. You saying that Nicki Minaj is a better rapper than Lil Kim is not crazy at all. Because I actually second that notion. No, I second that. And I'll tell you why. As far as we know now, we don't know. We can't dig into everybody's past, and we don't know the reference tracks or whatever. But as far as what is said and what has been well established, Lil Kim is a product of Notorious B.I.G.
Right.
He wrote for her, showed her how to rap.
Right.
Her whole style is based on Biggie.
Right.
With Nicki Minaj, that has never been the case from what we know.
Right.
So there's credit that has to be given for that.
There's definitely credit. And, you know, like, again, it's never taking, you know,
yeah.
Lil Kim paved the way. At the end of the day, no matter how she did, like, she paved the way. And that's, like, something that you have to respect. But you got to say, Nicki Minaj's music is crazy. Like, she really...
Yeah.
Sometimes she says stuff that I'm just like, how the fuck she thought about that? Like, that is so dope. You know?
Yeah.
So,
here's the thing. And we're gonna look back years from now, and it's not even gonna be a long time from now, like 5-10 years from now. We're gonna look back at Nicki Minaj and be like, hey, and even in some instances, we're looking at it right now.
Right.
She brought back the female MC because the female MC was gone, was dormant. She revived the female artists in hip hop.
We had Eve for a little short time, and the little short time that she was around, she was good, but she evolved into something else that wasn't an MC. So for me, like, Nicki Minaj is just like, she came out and I was just like, whoa, who is this girl? You know? Yeah. She came with it. Like, she really came with all of that heat. And again, if this is saying that she writes all her stuff, because we just really never know. But if her claim to fame is that she actually writes her own music.
Yeah.
Yo, you dope, girl.
No, I agree. Nicki Minaj made it possible for Cardi B and for Doja Cat to live.
Yo,
to exist.
Me and my man had a real situation about Doja Cat because she's starting to sound just like Nicki Minaj.
Oh, totally.
So I didn't catch that. I was just kind of like listening
to voices. Listen to the voice, the way she does her cadence when she raps. Like I
cannot unhear it. And so he's looking at me like, there's been some stuff that's been going on with her too, like personally, like just like rumors that have, and not even rumors. I mean, there was stuff that came up about her talking about herself, talking about her hair, talking about black people, talking about like whatever. So he's looking at me like, I'm surprised that you even listen to her. And I'm like, it's hard because to me, her music is good. Her music is, it's not Nicki Minaj. It's definitely not that. But it gets me in a mood and it gets me in a vibe and it does something for me. So I listen to her. But he's like, yo, it's wild to me that like you separate the artist from the person. When he's like, when in reality, it's like, it's one being. And I'm like, that's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard for me not to listen to her music because it does something for me, So
it's interesting.
Yeah,
it
totally was like, yo, she sounds like Nicki Minaj. She dead ass sounds like Nicki Minaj. She's like, you're not telling me that. And I was like, yo, after he said that, I'm like, I cannot unhear that. She definitely sounds like Nicki Minaj.
Yeah, she does. She does.
Yep.
You mentioned Jay-Z.
Yes.
So interesting thing about Jay-Z. Now, a lot of the stuff I feel like people who know me really well say that I'm very much like sacrilegious, and I'll explain what I mean. But with how I feel about Jay-Z since I grew up in Brooklyn, I'm a Nas person. So like I took Nas, I've been with Nas since the beginning. Like I always said, I thought now it's all subjective. There's no right or wrong answer.
Right. Yeah.
I always thought Nas was here, Jay-Z was here. That's how I look at it. But
a lot of people look at it that way.
But
a lot.
It doesn't make it right. But what I'm saying is that I always found it interesting how it's rare that you see, it's almost like with Biggie and Tupac, it's very rare that you see somebody that equally likes both. It's usually one or the other. It just depends on personal preference.
Tupac too, like probably just as much as I like Biggie.
Yeah?
Probably just as much as I like Biggie. And I just found out recently. I was watching the Biggie has they have a documentary about Biggie on Netflix, and so we were watching
They got so many.
It's a new one, which I mean, I don't think it's saying anything new really, but it's it's just like I guess kind of like a deeper dive into his personal life. But my man had mentioned that Tupac actually was from New York.
Yes.
And I didn't know that. And I was just like, what? Yes. And he was like, yes, he's actually.
He grew up in the Bronx for a little while. He actually was born in Harlem Hospital.
Yes,
he's from New York.
And I was like, it like blew my mind because I was like, you're telling me that they had this whole like East Coast versus West Coast from somebody that was born in New York? I'm like, how does that even make sense? It doesn't even make sense. But I do like them equally. I do like them equally. I can say that for sure.
I appreciate that. I like that. I feel, I love that too. Definitely. Here's the thing, right? Here's the thing when it comes to this, and now we're older, we're able to understand it. You know, at that time, I'm not going to ask you how old you are, but like, I'm in my 30s, right?
30, just turned 34, actually.
All right, so I'm 36. I just turned 36, right? Our birthdays are probably not far apart, right? So, we didn't get to see them the same way we got to see them in retrospect, right? So what I'm trying to say is that the media really perpetuated a lot of this shit.
Sure. Just like they always, the Nicki Minaj and Cardi B situation, I'm 1,000% sure. 1,000% sure that was exacerbated by media.
There's no beef.
By this whole like love of beef. Like, I guess as humans, we like beef. Like we like to see, you know, the back and forth and like, oh, she got back at her. Like, you hear what she said about like, there's something about that element that we like. And, you know, whoever runs media knows this about us. This is a psychological thing. They know this about us. So they say that's what's going to sell. That's what's going to make you, you know, hit the top because people are going to be talking about you.
Yeah.
And then what the scary thing is that led to such a crazy battle between the East versus West to the point where it got violent.
Yeah.
Like that's fucking wild. And it didn't even have to do with like no real actual beef. It was just something that was perpetuated, you know? It's crazy.
No, because I have a theory, right? And this is my theory, and I've said this to some of my friends. I have a theory that Tupac knew in his heart. Remember how he got shot that first time that he survived in the Quad Studios? I have a theory that Tupac knew that Biggie wasn't behind it. I have a theory that he was letting it ride because it was good for music, record sales.
That doesn't sound
not that he didn't dislike Biggie anymore.
Right.
I think he disliked Biggie because of competition, because of ego. I really believe in my heart of hearts that he knew that he didn't have anything to do with it. It was just good for business. That's my theory.
It's a fair theory. I feel it's a fair theory. I mean, but then I feel too like Biggie did a lot of things too to perpetuate it also
because if you look at the last I mean, he did stuff where he was kind of
like it's a little like so it makes on the other hand where Tupac may not be sure whether you did anything or not, had anything to do with it or not. The songs you're making, the shit you're saying, the shit you're doing, the tactics you're pulling is like it says otherwise. So now. Mm-hmm. Now this beef, but these are things that are like you said, it's perpetuated by the media because as little as the media was at that time. Because now let's forget about it. I mean, we got
everywhere.
We got Facebook, we got all this stuff. It's wild, definitely wild.
Well, the way Biggie was moving in his and I feel bad about this when I see this. They got interviews everywhere. Like the way Biggie was moving in his last days was not good. Like he was on the West Coast spitting freestyles. That if you listen to Life After Death, he's dissing him on the whole album.
That's what my man said. He was like,
the whole album. It's so
that he said, I think it's a good idea for me to go to California.
And he's dissing him on the radio station after he's dead already.
What are we doing?
He was dead already.
So it's like, come on, bro. And people take their, pride in where they're from. So people take that shit serious. But I guess you forgot that part.
It's sad, man. It's sad. And what you said about like, remember how you mentioned DMX? So DMX's passing was very unfortunate, very sad. I think very sad, right? And so when somebody like that passes away, I always feel like an artist, it elevates their status.
For sure. Yep.
And I think that's what happened with Biggie as well. That's what happened to Tupac. We don't know what would have happened had they lived. We assume they would have been great, and I think they would have been great. But
this is true. This
you
is very
know,
true. And I think they take, like, especially at the moment, because Biggie was at that moment where it was like he was about to either make it big or not make it at all. So he was right at that cusp, and they took that moment and kind of just like ran with it, and it forever lived. That doesn't happen with a lot of rappers that pass away, especially now. I'm looking now, and maybe it's just because I'm older and I'm not listening to the most current music, maybe. But I've seen a lot of like rappers that are passing on Instagram, and I have no idea who they are.
well, everybody's a rapper now. I mean,
yeah, and it's like it's like all sad and stuff like that, but like it's not gonna be like a Biggie situation or even a Tupac situation.
No,
where
it's not the same.
It's
not
like
the
a
same.
legacy, like this crazy legacy that you're gonna leave behind. So it's crazy.
Yeah, it's sad, and I feel like for me, when I look at it, I respect like with Jay-Z, like when you mentioned with Jay-Z, like Jay-Z is one of the greats. Like he deserves a lot of props for his for his career. That longevity is crazy, but like then you ask the question, like, had Big lived, would that still be the case?
Right, would it still be the case? Right,
that lane opened up.
Right, like how long would it how big would have that legacy been? Because he could have just rapped that good few albums and then just faded out. Like a lot of
Jay's still great though. I mean, I don't know what he would have been, but Jay still would have ate. Jay would have ate.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He's too good to not eat. He has an ear for.
And that's what I'm saying. It's aside from his raps and like how he raps, like aside from that, he's just intelligent, like intellectually, like he sees things from so many other different perspectives, and it's not just about like music to him. It's about like this bigger business plan that he has, and that's always attractive because it shows in his music too and how he raps and what he says.
You know what's one of my arguments for Nas, right? One of my biggest arguments for Nas being like on the top of the top of the top. He was competing with Biggie and Tupac when they were alive, and he came out pretty good. That album in '96, he went like 2 or 3 times platinum, and Biggie and Pac were still alive. When I Rule the World, that song, they were still alive, and he was competing with them. So like my thing is like Nas would have fared pretty well because of his pen. But Jay, I think, would have held his own because Jay was just kind of started to,
Right.
So it would have been interesting.
Yeah, he was on the cusp. It is interesting things to think about if they had not passed. What that would look like now, And you know what? Speaking on that, is I feel the same thing with Selena. I'm like, Selena is like a motherfucking legacy. Like,
so we talked about the hip hop element. We talked about, obviously we're both influenced by hip hop. So I guess what I want to know from you, just with the Milk brand, what is your direction? What are you planning to do? Like, what is your plans? What are your plans now for you and your partner, going forward for the Milked brand? I really feel like I really admire a lot of the stuff that you guys have done. I like that hoodie, which we'll plug all your stuff. The Madre Hoodie, all that stuff. Talk to me about where you're planning to take the brand now.
Send one to your wife. Just let me know if she's into hoodies.
Yeah.
But for us, we this didn't start as a clothing brand. In the back of my mind, I guess it was always like a lingering idea. It moved into this direction because we, again, my background, my culture, but what I like. This is what I like. So I'm like, I might as well represent what I like in motherhood, So now we're moving into the space of clothing, which is a crazy space. Clothing in general, the clothing culture it's wildly competitive.
Very competitive.
Very, very competitive. So
to stand out is difficult.
Yeah, stand out is a very difficult thing to do as a clothing brand. But for us, it's more about a community. So what we're looking to do in the future is, yes, get more accessories, get more, maybe some hoodies, different designs and beanies, socks, all the stuff that we like to wear regardless. Definitely looking forward to doing that. But I think that we're going to start trying to expand also into doing like pop-up events and doing, curated events, art shows that are geared to, parents. We can expose and market parents and what they do. There's so many different moms and so many different dads that are doing so many different side hustles that I find like crazy. I'm like, you guys have the time to do this? Because I know how hard it is for me Just
Oh,
to
it's hard.
just to make you can see you see our conversation today.
Just through this whole episode.
Listen, and it's only been an hour. So imagínate, the whole, just imagine your life as a parent, right? Trying to
Yep.
really make something happen. So I see these parents, they're really on top of their shit, really doing things. And I think I find that amazing. And I'm like, I want to expose those parents. I want to start creating events or a hub where we can see all of that talent. You make hair products, you do eyebrows, or I don't know, tax, whatever it is that you do as a parent, a side hustle as a parent. I want to put that on the map. And so in the future, this is something that we've just been talking about for a while. And, it takes time to develop things. But in the future, what we really want to do is start curating those type of events where we can have parents and kind of expose all this dope shit that parents do. Podcast.
You go. Listen, there's plenty of room for more podcasters, because you know what? There's a lot of look. I look at it like this: everybody's got a story, so why not tell yours?
Right. Yes, absolutely. Everybody's got a story, and I feel like sometimes parents get put on the back burner because they feel like we can't do the job, because our first job is to take care of our kids, and I'm like, because that's our first job, we do what we do. We do it better. For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. No, listen. Mothers do an extraordinary job. I mean, I lived through it.
Fathers too.
Even as a kid. I see my mom live through. My mother was a single mother. So
yeah, to see someone like you coming from that situation, and coming from a situation where you don't have a father present, where you don't necessarily have a male figure to tell you what to do or how to do it, and that you're doing it this way. I mean, come on, that deserves like a crazy applause,
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Now, to be clear, my father was around, but but obviously, right, they weren't together. But yes, my father. Shout out to my father. My father.
Yeah, I understand. I totally understand. It's just the dynamic that we know, that we think we know, because we assume that we have to have mommy and daddy together, and
right, that dynamic.
Because this world is built that way. This world is built so that we need both parents, and we need both parents to work this time around.
Oh yeah, now yeah. You can't just, those days are over, way over. Like
where feminism was like, oh yeah, we want to be equal. It's like, y'all don't fucked it up. I wasn't trying to work. But no, seriously speaking, like in these days, you need both of the parents to be present and to work. And it's like, how can I have both parents present but also working?
Right.
It's like, I mean, it's fucking mind boggling. You know what I'm saying? Like, so we understand this dynamic that we have to have both parents there, and to see a woman do it alone, whether your father is around or not, if they're not together in the same household, it makes it very difficult. It makes it very difficult. Very difficult.
And
yeah.
No, I appreciate that, definitely, and just having that perspective. The Milked Brand, I mean, your website is great. I saw the website.
Thank you.
Tell everybody where they can find your stuff. We'll have all the links, everything. It'll be on the audio format and the video format as well. On the description, we'll plug all your stuff. So tell everybody where they can find your website and on social media.
Yes. So the website is themilkedbrand.com. You guys can go on there. You can shop. We're looking to expand that website too, and have more stuff and more interactive stuff on there. And our Instagram, which is the heaviest social media platform that we use, is the Milked Brand, at the Milked Brand. So definitely follow, like, share, and love us.
There you go. Any parting shots before you go?
A party shots. What is a party shot?
Not party.
Oh, I'm like, sign me
up. Sign me up, right?
Sign me up.
I know.
No, I want to shout out all the moms and all the dads that really make it happen, and that helped me create this, because it wasn't just me alone. It was the thought of all of you guys that I had in mind. So I love you. Thank you.
Respect, definitely. Listen, Val, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate having you on. Make sure you guys check out the Milked Brand. Follow the Milked Brand on Instagram. We're gonna plug all your stuff, Val. So
thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on, and I'm looking forward to seeing you continue to grow.
Yes, and hopefully we see each other again.
Yes, definitely, no problem. Thank you.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
So that was Val of the Milked Brand. I tell you, very interesting story. And so, a story really of perseverance, being able to utilize your creativity, and really great. And I look forward to seeing what they have in store, her and her partner, moving forward. So, as always, so I want to thank my guests. Thank you guys, everybody. Make sure to follow me on social media at Instagram, Santos Thread Shop, as well as TikTok, Santos Thread Shop. Visit Santos-Threads. And as always, that was episode number 33. As always, don't just say what you mean or mean what you say. Say with your chest.